My dad was abusive. He suffered with drinking excessively. He abused me and my sisters and his other kids, which he had with somebody else. I was 9, but I grew up in like a really toxic household, like shouting, like just like a lot, just really not a good childhood.
My mum and dad used to fight, argue, they would drink, and they would lie. It's also to saying they weren't together, and then it would just keep happening and keep happening. They could get quite violent at times, and then they'd had enough of having to come out, and the police did say to them, "You've got one last chance," but they blew it.
Developmental trauma is a term that we use to describe the experiences of young people who've grown up in frightening, neglectful or abusive circumstances. We know that brain development is shaped through our early experiences and particularly relationships with others, so developmental trauma can impact on young people's cognitive, social and emotional development. In particular, neuroimaging studies have shown that changes to the threat, reward and memory systems in the brain. This affects awareness of threat, hypervigilance to surroundings, motivation, and a reduction in autobiographical memory. That is, our memory of everyday experiences, which we base our day-to-day functioning and responses in new situations on.
It was scary. Like, I was only 4, and it was just like I had to go to these strange people and have a sleepover in a place with people I've never met before. And yeah, it was hard.
My mum kept going out with her friends and she was leaving me in the house by myself. Then eventually a social worker or somebody came round knocking and I never heard them. So after that they went away. The next day I went to school. I got pulled out of one of my lessons and I went to see one of my support teachers and she told us I'm in foster care. I just cried.
At first, when you get first taken away, it can be really nerve-wracking because most people I know were like really nervous moving in.
I was an angry kid. It showed at home. I was kicking off and we had contact twice a week to begin with Mum. And then it just kept getting longer and longer. And so after every contact, I would have a big blowout and it would affect school. And at school, I just wasn't coping. I was a really smart kid. I was top of the class, but it slowly, as I got older, it started falling behind because obviously it's a lot to take in and trying to figure out all these feelings.
My life changed a bit. I started to get bullied. I had ginger hair and that. They found out I was in care. It all went downhill.
Children with trauma can have difficulties controlling emotions, especially as their bodies are flooded with cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Children who struggle with emotional regulation should not be seen as attention-seeking, but attachment-seeking. They may be triggered by sensory memories where sounds, sights or smells can send them into fight, flight or freeze mode, even though they are not aware of the reasons why.
Sometimes friends that aren't in care can talk about really annoy you by saying stuff about you being in care. One of my friends when I was in college, he was really trying to annoy me to get me in trouble in front of this teacher. And then he started talking about why I was in care and that my family didn't love me, so they put me in care. And that really got me started. And then I got kicked out of this school because another person did the same thing. And then that's when I really did end up kicking off.
Being getting 1s and 2s on my tests. Used to be 10s, 12s.
Children who have experienced trauma may struggle with planning ahead, organisation and problem solving. They may appear unable to learn from their mistakes and may struggle to express themselves, including their emotions.
I affected my behaviour because I became more scared to do stuff that I think that could get us in trouble, or if I was I wouldn't do stuff. I wouldn't go on stuff without asking. I wouldn't get a drink without asking and everything, just in case. And I wouldn't go out without asking, just in case I got hit or something. So it made me more shy.
was quite well behaved. I was just that kid that got on with things, didn't complain, was like in the background. And as I got older, I started getting more in trouble. I started hanging around with children I shouldn't have hung around with. I got sent home a lot from school. So it got worse as I tried to make sense of it.
It affected us a lot because I stopped concentrating on lessons and all that. I started being naughty and that. It changed a lot. I am not listening to teachers, walking away from them, getting a lot of detentions and all that. It just went downhill. I was bottling everything up, wouldn't tell no one anything. Because I never tell people anything. Don't trust them.
With good enough parenting in safe environments, children experience positive intersubjective relationships. They develop their emotional regulation through repeated opportunities for co-regulation with a safe adult, and they develop an internal working model of themselves as being lovable, adults as loving and predictable, and the world as a safe place. Where young people have grown up in environments where they're experiencing neglect or abuse, the brain adapts to survive in a threatening or unpredictable world. They miss opportunities for developing regulation skills, they become fearful or rejecting of intersubjective relationships, and they develop internal working models of themselves as bad or unlovable, of adults as frightening or unresponsive, and of the world as a dangerous place.
Children who have not experienced early secure attachments have developed a range of adapted attachment strategies to avoid danger and may have learnt that adults can't be trusted. Without the blueprint of early healthy attachments, they may have difficulties making and maintaining relationships with peers. They may misread the behaviour of others as aggressive and not understand social cues, leaving them feeling threatened and in danger.
I didn't trust anyone. Like, everyone was my enemy. I didn't get along with people like other kids my age because they always seen us as different. And I'm just the strange person who lives with people like who aren't their parents. And it came across as anger towards everyone. I would just kick off. And half of the time I wouldn't even know why I'm kicking off. Someone could look at me the wrong way and I'll be like, nah, kick off.
Ways we can promote trust in schools. Show children and young people that you like them and are interested in them. Be physically and emotionally present. Have systems for meeting and greeting at the beginning of the day. Use check-ins throughout the day. Allocate a key adult to be dedicated to time to build and develop a relationship with the child or the young person. Develop opportunities for connections with peers and the school community, with clubs, responsibilities and active contributions. Teach and model skills to support positive relationships, valuing, encouraging, accepting and empathising.
I don't even know how to explain it. Like, if I'm in a lesson and, like, say I don't really like the lesson, I'll try my best because I know there's consequences that come with my actions. So I try to avoid them, but if my mind just ticks and ticks and ticks because I'm an overthinker and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then I just have a big kick off in school and then I get sent home without anyone even saying, like, nobody really sat us down and said, are you okay? Like, that's, I think, what I find I struggled with a lot. Well, me and my dad do get on really well, but we'll have our bad days together. It's like a love-hate relationship between me and him. And he tends to argue with me quite a lot. Like, it's happened in school before where he started arguing with us and I've just completely blew up. And I just end up walking around the school for hours. And I mean, some days I would do that and no teachers would even stop and question. There's some days we'll just completely ignore it and just go, oh, she's just misbehaving again, without really understanding what's going on.
Schools will see the impact of trauma in various ways. When presented with a child who appears to be unresponsive, uncooperative, aggressive or defiant, then it is only natural to focus on this behaviour. Remember that they are not usually consciously choosing their behaviour. This is their adapted way of dealing with their life and is one that they have learnt over a long period of time. To help the child, school needs to understand the child's trauma language and work out what their behaviour and responses really mean. We tend to punish the behaviour we don't want or reward the behaviour that we do want, but that assumes that the child has control or chooses their behaviour. considering the reasons behind the behaviour and the needs and the history. Zones of regulation support the understanding of emotions and changes in an emotional state. Be aware of your own emotional arousal. Try to avoid having the young person control your emotions. Take a step back and reflect. Refrain disruption as a need for help. Instead of giving warnings, I see you need help with. Reframe attention seeking as attention needing. Structure choices to remain in control. For example, you can finish your work sitting down or standing up. Acknowledge good decisions and choices. I see you made a good choice. You were able to do that. Great. Use emotion coaching training available from Gateshead Psychological Service. Use wandering aloud techniques to help the young person make sense of their behaviour. Empathise with the emotion, not the behaviour. Consequences should be logical, repair of the relationships and damage to property, building in calming practices, grounding activities and visualisations.
Majority of it was at school because I had to socialise with other people my age who didn't understand what I was going through. And to be honest, I didn't really understand what I was going through. And it turned more violent towards other people, which I regret totally, but it's what happened. Like, I used to kick off, throw things, bite a teacher. It turned really negative, and it was honestly, I feel sorry for like the people who had to witness that, because obviously it's not good. But then at the same time, I feel bad for like myself, because I shouldn't have had to experience that. I shouldn't have had to go there to get the anger and emotions out.
Sometimes I have to go early to my lessons, so I'm not stuck in the corridors. It's just I get anxious when I'm around other people who I don't know.
Then there was another time during lockdown school where the teacher come past and went, "Oh, I've got your care team meeting with your foster carer and your social worker." And I was just like, why? Like, I didn't want those kids who were there to know, because now I get singled out.
I don't go at the minute because last year was like a lot and I got in a lot of trouble, and then I got kicked out eventually. There was a lot of like family stuff going on. Like, my sister had died and like I had problems with my dad, and like everything was just too much, and like I took it out the wrong way, so I took it out on the teachers, which I shouldn't have, and then I got kicked out.
I should have just spoke about it. I should have told people what I was feeling instead of bottling it up. There's a saying that I hate, but it's so true, that kids, especially kids in care, are like pressure pots, and the pressure just rises and rises until you flip your lid and it just all comes out.
I get angry too easily, especially in school with the teachers. I normally get safe forward, then I'll go to supervision. Then if I'm in supervision, I'd work myself up from C1 to C6. C6 is a suspension. Just puzzling like referrals just like reflection. And then it's just like when a lot of people go, so you would get put in referral or reflection, whatever you want to call it. And then you get detention for going in, plus a detention if you like be naughty in lessons. When I'm in school, I know I can behave. It's just like, and I just want to not behave so I can get home early.
Some days I go to SIPs and that, and she said that I disassociate, so I just completely zone out, and that's when I've got all the flashbacks going in through my head, and there was a really bad time.
Some people can have like depression, anxiety. They might not like meeting new people. They might have had a toxic growing up, so like toxic childhood, so they might not trust people. They could have depression, anxiety.
Like going out and putting on this fake face, like, yep, I'm good, everything's so good. But in your head, you're like, oh my God, this. Oh my God, am I going to get moved? Oh my God, does my mum still love me? It's a lot to go through.
Brain changes that occur following developmental trauma increase a young person's vulnerability in several ways. Hypervigilance reduces capacity to learn new things and can contribute to chronic stress. Young people who have experienced abuse and neglect experience increased stress generation, so they're more likely to experience additional stressful events and have a higher likelihood of being bullied, having relationship difficulties, and facing exclusion. They may experience social thinning. This is where relationships are gradually lost, are of poor quality, or are never formed in the first place. We know that supportive relationships are key to health and well-being, and having stressful social relationships or fewer supportive relationships increases risk of developing mental health problems.
They try and talk to us, but like when I'm not in the right mindset to talk, like it can go the wrong way, and like I can take things what they say the wrong way.
Like the policy for the school was like, it was like really strict, and I was used to a strict setting, and as soon as I went to foster care, I wasn't like used to like a strict setting like it was. So I thought I could let some things like go past, like getting into trouble more. And then my friends were like telling me to do stuff because they knew I'd been kicked out of school, so they knew I would do something again.
Teachers don't understand what sometimes goes on in our heads, and then we end up kicking off. And then I would get on call, and then this was when I would start digging the hole. And then on call would come and get us. It would always be a teacher who I knew because, like, who I trusted because they know how to deal with us. And then I would have an even bigger kick off when he tells us I'm in isolation. And the hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper to the point they actually ended up sending us home. And then I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I get to the point where I can't get out of that hole unless someone actually like takes us completely away from the situation. For example, like sending us home for like a reset kind of thing, which is what they used to do when I was in the DRC there. That was like a unit for kids with behaviour problems, like learning disabilities, in mental health. So they would put us into there and we would go into mainstream for some lessons and would be up there for the rest. And I found that up there, they knew how to stop that hole from getting too deep.
They tried to manage it in different ways, but it just didn't seem to work for me. I feel like I was being singled out. I feel like I was being treated differently. And it made the other kids be like, why is this happening? Why do you gotta go out of lesson to go see a person and make a doll? But at that time, it helped me a bit, but it wasn't what I needed. I needed more security, more ability to talk through it in my own way.
It can be difficult for teachers to respond in a calm, open and engaged state when young people are dysregulated. This is because when behaviour is challenging or threatening, often adults can feel frustrated by this as their own human defences are triggered. At these times, it's much more likely that teachers will revert to more traditional behaviour management styles such as punishment, withdrawal or consequences. Unfortunately, these often feel shaming to a child who has experienced developmental trauma and can lead to a breakdown in communication, an escalation in the situation and a rupture in the relationship between the teacher and the child. It's really important for teachers to practice self-care. By recognising the impact that a child's behaviour is having on them, this will help teachers to respond in a more compassionate and understanding way.
School needs a clear plan for challenging incidents and at times of crisis. Establish the safety of the young person, the peers and the colleagues. Relate. Once they are regulated, connect with the young person, problem-free talk, a warm drink and a snack and a shared activity. Regulating a young person's fight, flight, freeze response maintains self-regulation and supports a young person to regulate with physical activity, repetitive activity, breathing and sensory strategies. Reasoning. Support the young person to understand what happened and give logical consequences based on the repair of the relationship, the damage to property. Encourage and support reflection. Talk to others involved in the incident, both peers and colleagues. Reflect and review. Could the incident have been managed differently?
what would have helped was like teachers actually listening to us if they would like sit down with us and like have a talk, but they didn't do it.
Try and like understand that like everything's not like as easy as like they think it is, because they haven't been through the same circumstances as everyone else, like people in care and that. Like foster care situations, like movement, other things like with family and that. I have like trust issues with people. I think that's how I grew up though, because I don't like to trust people unless I know I can't.
So things schools can do to support safety: be predictable and reliable. If things change, then explain the reason why this has happened. Keep an open and friendly body language, a calm approach, tone of the voice, and show them that you can contain their emotions while maintaining calm. Provide clear and consistent routines, structures, boundaries. Use visual prompts, prepare and provide support. Anticipate triggers for anxiety, a different member of staff, a change in routine, sensitive curriculum topics, etc. Provide safe spaces and places, and have a clear plan for challenging incidents at a time of crisis.
I still struggle to this day, but I'm just able to manage it better than what I used to be able to. And that's through my own growth and through seeing how I've been treated. I'm not going to stoop down and be the same. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to show people that we're not all naughty kids. We're actually academic, smart individuals.
So I've ended up in another school, just like a pro, which I think is quite better. Like they can pick up on telltale signs before a kick off, well before it happens, and they take you out, take us through the wellbeing room, and we just sit and chill there for a bit with the music on. It's quite a small class, there's only 8 of us, well the maximum of 8 in a class, and there's 2 TAs. So there's like, if we need to leave, there's still someone there with the class.
The school I'm in now, it's alright, because I've got PE for my 3rd lesson. So I go to PE on my 3rd lesson, and I get to do like table tennis, trampoline and football.
Due to so many different circumstances, people might not be able to speak up. People might be too afraid to speak up. People might not have the capability to know how to put it into words. So having more creative aspects like acting, singing, drawing, painting, sports, like so many different ways to be able to have a voice. I feel like if councils start implementing that, I feel like we would get much more feedback and we'll be able to help more and understand more about what is actually going on in that kid's head.
It's all like calmed down now, because like I've been in this foster home for ages now, and like I know like I'm fine. Well, now it's going good. I found a good friend group straight away, and I didn't hang around with all the people that I know could get me into trouble. And then I stuck with that friend group. It's not as strict. I've made like friends with most of the teachers. I've got Alex as support that helps me stay in the school if anything does go like really bad.
We could like first off tell them how I feel and like first gaining their trust. So like we trust them enough to like tell them really what's happening, what's going on, and tell them like bits of like what's happened. So like from like the start where you went into foster care, and then like basically how that's affected you or like how you feel about it and everything.
I feel like school just needs to genuinely listen to us. Like if we're saying, I can't be here today, I can't do this, then listen and come up with a compromise. You could do some work in like a separate classroom by yourself, so you don't have to be surrounded with that constant reminder that you're different, or even just being like, right, you can go home today, but will you come back tomorrow and give us your role? Like it's coming up with compromise. Like it's not all one way or another. It's like we can't always get what we want, but the school can't always expect us to do everything they need, because we are struggling. We have experienced negatives, and that is going to affect us.
Learning is state dependent. That is, in order for children to learn, they need to be in a calm and alert state. This means that they need to feel like adults have connected with the emotional part of their brain before they can engage the thoughtful, articulate and problem-solving areas that are required for learning. We would encourage schools and teachers to move from behavioural to relational responses and to remember that children who have experienced trauma require connection before correction. Using the PACE approach, playfulness, acceptance, curiosity, empathy, can help the child feel safe and connected. This focuses on the child's internal experiences rather than the behaviour we see. It supports co-regulation with a safe adult and helps the child reflect. PACE is at the core of therapeutic relationships as it builds trust and security. At times of dysregulation, we would encourage teachers to regulate the child by calming their fight, flight, freeze response, to relate using PACE to connect with the child, and offer them time in so that the child can co-regulate and scaffold their behaviour. Then reason, helping them reflect and focus on repair rather than reproach.
The way schools can support access to learning. Recognise any additional learning or language needs. Structure the activities in a predictable way. Consider social and emotional development as well as cognitive development. A young person capable of age-related expectations for learning may be functioning at a much younger age in terms of social and emotional development. Use approaches such as task management boards, writing frames to structure tasks, information presented in multiple modes. Building in learning breaks as necessary. Communicate expectations for tasks very clearly. Provide support and modelling for organisation and planning of tasks.
I feel like it would be, instead of just focusing on teaching the class, I feel like you need to look at each individual. Obviously still be able to teach the class, but if you know a child is looked after and maybe having a bad day by looking at their behaviour points and things, maybe just keep an eye on them and make sure they're okay. Or even like pull them aside at the end and just ask them if they're alright. Like, because sometimes it is nice to have someone there to say, are you okay? But not just like, hi, are you alright? Like a proper sit down, are you okay chat? Because sometimes it is perfect just to let it all out.
When they had teacher training days, bring people like me in, people like that, and we can tell you our experiences if they wanted to, and tell them what we've been through, what's happened, what it's like, and then they'll have a better understanding of it. They could have a day where they do normal training, and then another day where they do training about young people in care, and just how to like handle them, like if they have like bursts of like anger or like, and how to like not put up with them, but like, as I said, handle them, like, because everyone's different, like every foster person is different, everyone's got a different story, and like how to like understand them really. Yeah,
I feel like they need to factor into training those who are looked after, how to deal with them. Obviously, I know we're not different, but we have bad days, but obviously we have like past trauma, and some of us may have like PTSD where we struggle some days. They need to factor in how to cope with that. And if the child says, please go and find someone who I trust, then they should know, like they should like not notes on them, but it should be on the system who they trust. So it's easier, instead of a child trying to say like, I need you to go and find whoever, for them to then ask why. Because sometimes being asked why can just tip us over the edge.
Teachers can try to be on the lookout for what young people's survival behaviours look like, as these will be different for every young person. If you can recognise survival when it shows up, this will help teachers to achieve a position of understanding and being able to look behind the young person's behaviour to see their emotional pain. We need to recognise that often what we're seeing is a child doing their best to survive with brain adaptations from the past.
And just treat us like more individuals. Like, we're not just a number in the system. We'll have a name, use it. We are individual people with individual taste. Just because it works with one kid doesn't mean it's going to work with me. It just needs to be more, like, less stigmatized. Like, we need to have less of a negative rep. Yes, some of us turn out to be proper little radgies, but we're actually also the people who win awards. We're the people who people can look up to and be like, oh, I want to be like you. We're not just the people who spray graffiti or vandalise shops. We're the people who become teachers. We're the people who become them social workers. We are capable of more than just being naughty kids.
Towards teachers in particular, especially those who are support teachers for children such as myself, be more considerate and be more gentle and try and understand why they may act the way they do, why they may use the certain language that they do. Understand that they've been through a lot. They just need a gentle hand.